October 12th. Here we are, fast approaching the halfway point of our spooky season celebration viewings. And I'm going to have to stop with first time watchers soon and start cracking on with my annual watches that I tend to watch every year. I've got my little stockpile there ready to go. However, tonight's was a first time watch, a stream. It was released in 2023, directed by Patrick Wilson, part of an ongoing series of horror films which started with October 12th, and we are fast approaching the halfway point of our spooky season celebration viewings. I'm going to have to stop watching, streams soon and just crack on with my annual rewatch list, which I've got stockpiled here, ready to go, and I'm very, very excited to crack on with those. However, a few more days before that, and today's was a stream again, a first time watch. So it was released in 2023, directed by Patrick Wilson. And it's a sequel to an ongoing series which started with a film directed by James Wan originally. Now, it's got the original film, the sequel, 2 prequels, and then this film. I'm talking about Insidious, The Red Door. Now, this film for me sits level pegging with the second film. Now, I'm not really a fan of any of them after the first movie, and I will explain for why. Now, Patrick Wilson, first time director, I think, actually, with this, which, fair play to him, to kind of come in and do a big studio movie like this for your first film, takes balls. And, there's parts to it that work. But ultimately, James Wan is a genre pro. Like, this is his playing field. And it shows, unfortunately. Like, that first film, the thing that makes the first film for me is you've got your jump scares, which work incredibly fucking well. But what makes the first film work is those moments where you're watching and something happens just in your peripheral, just at the edge of frame, and you're like, was that there? And it kind of starts making you question yourself as to whether you're freaking out and you're seeing things. Was that there? Was it not? And that's the joy of seeing this type of film in the cinema. I fucking loved watching that first film in the cinema because you can't rewind it and check on yourself and double check to see if, oh yeah, shit, that was there, like you can at home. And it just worked brilliantly. Like, there's a scene in particular in that first movie with Rose Byrne just making her way through the house, and she walks past the lounge. They've got an open archway. And when she first, it's only a second, literally a couple of frames, walks past it, and there's someone stood in the lounge. She does whatever she needs to do, and she walks back, and you're like, is it there? Is it? And then there's nothing there. So in your mind, you're like, did I just see? And they play on like the musical cues, like there's no hint at there being something there. Like, there's no musical cue like you would normally expect, the kind of silence, jump scare. Oh, there's none of that, and it's just so masterfully done. But yeah, like I said, there's parts of this film that do work. Like, it just so happens it's probably more the drama side of the story than the supernatural side of the story. So this film tells the story mainly of Josh and his son Dalton, who, after the events of the second film, potential spoilers, after they've been into the further, both sides have their memories wiped. This film picks up 9 years later, and it's about those memories starting to leak back in to their subconscious and the entities that come with it who want to try and get hold of Dalton again. Yeah, so I think the trauma side of the story works really well, and their relationship and how that kind of develops, falls apart, and then they, what proceeds will happen. But the supernatural aspect of it, just not done that competently. Like, it's a bit cliche. There's no tense build up to it, and thus it doesn't really kind of hold up to that original movie. So my advice would always be, just go back to Insidious 1, forget everything that came after. Insidious is the best movie of the series. So yeah, obviously, as tonight was a stream, I've also got a physical media release that I want to recommend out of my collection. I actually rewatched this recently, so it's not on my Halloween list this year, but I do adore this movie. So this was released in 1973, I think, 73, 74, directed by Robin Hardy, starring Christopher Lee and Edward Woodward. It's an English folk horror, and it's fucking brilliant. Like, the Wicker Man. Really love this case as well. Just get you a view of the back there. Great little collection here. Now this has released on 4K recently, and I might upgrade at some point, but to be honest, I prefer the packaging on this one. I think the 4K is like a white background with pastel artwork, and I just think this works better. So yeah, if I open this up, you've got pretty much the same artwork, just a matte version. And I'll just get these discs before I start talking about it. So you've got disc 1 here, which has the final cut and most of the special features. You've got your disc 2 here, which has the UK theatrical cut and the director's cut. And then you've got disc 3 here, which is a soundtrack, which is brilliant. It's just full of a lot of double entendre folk songs. If you've seen the film, you'll probably already adore the soundtrack. But yeah, if you haven't, you'll know what I mean when you see it. So yeah, you heard me right. 3 fucking cuts of the movie. It's so good. Now there's a lot of discourse about which cut is the superior cut. For me, it will always be whatever the director says is the closest to the vision that they wanted to do in the first place, which with this film is that final cut, which is why this package was released. So yeah, the final cut, in my opinion, is the one to watch if you've not seen it before. The director's cut is pretty good as well. However, I would tend to skip the UK theatrical cut just because it skips a lot. And I don't want to sound like a pervert, but it skips a lot of the nudity, which is relevant in this case to the plot of the film, given that it's kind of around a religious sect and kind of almost relates to paganism and things like that. So yeah, it is plot integral. I'm not just being creepy. Yeah, special features wise, what this does, it is pretty well packed, to be honest. You've got a documentary on there that clocks in at about 50 minutes with Mark Kermode hosting. It's got interviews with the cast, crew, just kind of talks about the genesis of the script, how it came about, the direction, and what the cast kind of thought about making the process. So yeah, really interesting. You've got some interviews on there, one with Robin Hardy, which is quite interesting, about, again, how he kind of developed the script with the screenwriter and Anthony Schaefer, and he has a nice little anecdote for most of the main cast members in there, which is quite sweet. You've got trailers, obviously you've got the CD soundtrack as a bonus. A couple of special features I really like. So you've got an audio commentary on the director's cut, and along with that you actually get a making of the director's cut. So it kind of shows you them recording the track. Only lasts about, I think it's about 10 minutes, but it shows Mark Kermode, Christopher Lee, Edward Woodward and Robin Hardy kind of sat opposite each other, watching the films on monitors and discussing certain scenes. I like stuff like that. And you've also got a restoration comparison. So it shows you that original film versus the restoration process and kind of the image upgrade. And I love stuff like that. I'd love to point out to people that don't necessarily believe me when I say, oh, but I'm going to upgrade to 4K because it's going to be so much better than the DVD that I had. And they're like, oh, it can't be that much better. Let me show you. So yeah, it's a great package. If you've not seen the film, honestly, it's a slow burn. Don't go into it expecting a standard horror film. It's very slow, very character driven, but it gets under your fucking skin. And when it gets that end scene, it will stay with you. I promise you, it will stay with you. It's horrific. And just masterfully played by Christopher Lee and Edward Woodward. It's really good. So yeah, The Wicker Man is today's film choice. Tune in for tomorrow's tease over on TikTok, and I will see you here tomorrow for another film. Thank you very much. See you there.